listening to Out Late with David. True stories of coming out later in life. And now here's your host, David Cotton.
Welcome to Out Late with David. This is the podcast where we talk about the courage it takes to be yourself. And today we're pleased to have a guest here in Palm Springs, as you see. For the first time, we're doing something in person, so this is kind of cool. Wonderful to actually see somebody and have a conversation with them. We have Greg Baird, who is here in Palm Springs for a couple days. And we're going to talk about his life, his career, the things that he has found out about being an advocate, an ally, an LGBTQ plus lecturer, and how that intersected with his life, his profession, and all those things. So Greg, welcome to Palm Springs. I'm glad to spend this time.
Thank you. Welcome to my home.
Yeah, this is glorious. I love it. I wished. Yeah. Nice green grass, sun is shining, a beautiful day. The sky is
beautiful pool by us. So yeah, very nice. Well, nice to officially meet you. We've talked a little bit, and I first saw you when you were on the Out Loud interview from Key West.
Key West, yeah, that was fun.
Yeah.
Fun group.
So, and it was a great interview.
Thanks to John and Brian. Shout out to you guys.
Yeah.
Wonderful group.
Yeah. So I'm glad you're here, and I'm glad you have time to do this.
Well, thank you. So let's jump into your life.
Okay.
I know a little bit about it, but not a lot. So what were those early years, how you learned about who you were and how you dealt with that?
So I grew up in a very small town north of Detroit, about 50 miles. And if you know anything about Michigan, it's shaped like a mitt. So we always say, they called my hometown, the small hometown, the gateway to the thumb. Very attractive.
Okay. Yes.
Yeah,
Okay.
So, very small. So the possibilities of coming out didn't even really cross my mind because I thought living my truth was not going to be a possibility.
Did you know that inside you or had an inkling?
Well, I grew up in a religious family, so semi-religious, I guess you can say. So we were always told that, about sin and homosexuality is wrong, you go to hell. So I didn't know exactly where my life was going to go. And there was a lot of layers there. So once I left my small town, and I always tell this when I speak, I went to college, that's where I kind of blossomed. And I ended up joining they called it a gay group back in the day at Central Michigan University. And I got involved with that group. I had a boyfriend at the time, which was glorious because I met him at a gay bar in Flint, Michigan, and bigger city near where I grew up. And so we were the token couple that would go into like the residence hall and talk about being gay.
So you were already advocating for the community that just college.
Yeah. And
did the family know?
No, nothing at all. And I have to back up a little bit. The first engagement I had in college, I was scared out of my mind because they asked if we wanted to go into a sociology class called Social Problems. That was the name of the class. Mm-hmm. So you put that on top of somebody like, oh, we're a social problem now.
So they wanted you as an example?
Oh, yeah. We lined up like an Oprah interview. So they had gay men, lesbians, a couple bisexual people, and then our advisor. And you went right down like it was a recovery meeting, and you had to say your name, where you're from, what your major was, and identify yourself. And then everybody would go, I would say, hi, I've talked about this in a storytelling event, and I found it amusing, social problems. I'd say, hi, my name is Greg. I'm gay. I'm a speech theater major, and I'm from Emily City, Michigan. And the whole lecture, I would go, hi, Greg. And I started laughing, because it was just the most ridiculous. I felt
sounds like an
AA. Nothing against AA, but I felt like it was an AA group. And even after the advisor goes, "What was going on with you?" I told him, and he got it. But yeah, I mean, you literally got grilled, and it was some crazy questions from students. But that was the first thing I did. And then after I left college, I worked at Interlochen Center for the Arts, which is up near Traverse City, Michigan, world-renowned art school. And I started their first gay-straight alliance. And I was also the hall director for the junior and senior boys. So the school went kind of crazy that here's, and kind of out guy leading a residence hall. And then I'm starting at GSA. So they had to put a straight counselor in there with me. So as a protection liability thing.
Around what year was that?
That was 1994. Yeah, 93, 94. And I had been out a little bit prior to that, but not fully. I did not come out to my parents till I was like 30, 31. And the kicker of all of that, I have an older brother. We're both adopted. We're both adopted from different families.
Okay.
And we're both gay.
And they're both gay.
And we're both gay. And he knew long before I did, but he was knowing I was the more outgoing of the two of us. So he kind of put me out to see, it was like a rat sending the other child out to see if they come back and to see how our parents responded. And it wasn't good, but
yeah. How did they respond?
I came out to my dad first, which I find very interesting because my dad was very, we came from not a loving family, very prejudiced, always heard these awful jokes that my dad owned a hardware store, came to the table and told us. So there's no way that there was gay jokes, black, brown jokes, everything. So I decided to tell him. And at that point, my parents had been divorced since I was 18. So my stepmother was, once I told my dad, was really spearheaded like, hey, listen, you got a son that's gay. Didn't know she had two. And my dad accepted it. But with the notion of, he said, if they met up with me one summer because they were down in Florida. They said, we've been thinking about this gay thing that you have.
That you have?
Yeah, like I have luggage or something, And they go, that you have. And we're just hoping that when we turn on the TV and we see like a pride parade, that they call it the gay parade, that we don't see you dancing on a float in a G-string. And at that point, at the time, I weighed 260 pounds. And I said to my dad, you have nothing to worry about. That's not going to happen. But see, that's their, with a lot of what I do, it's a lot of education. And I had to remind myself that that's what they know.
Right. And
that's what they see. And so I thought, I can either make or break it and educate my father. And that went on for a long time. And then when I did student teaching, I came out to my mother, and that was terrible. And I didn't know at the time, but she was married to my stepfather, who was very nice to me at the time, but very homophobic and very, in what they called old school. So I just felt at that point, after working at Interlochen, I was on a board of directors in Traverse City for Friends North, that there was a need out there. But I was still going to education. I was going to secondary ed. But I had worked at all these summer camps, and there's no way I would have told any of those kids or the parents that loved me that this guy that the kids and the students loved and emulated was gay, because I thought this would have destroyed it. And I later found out it wasn't the kids I had to worry about, the parents. Yeah.
Parents. Yeah.
And then that's like it is to this day. And some of the kids are now in their 40s. And they're like, oh, we knew. Like, you were great. You had nothing to worry about.
They didn't care.
They didn't care at all.
Interesting how generations had shifted. There was some junior ROTC cadets that were getting ready for the Veterans Parade. Retired military, to where most of my career, you wouldn't talk about anything that was gay or homosexual. Right. And in the course of the conversation, I said, now you know what a gay general looks like. Didn't bat an eye. They didn't care. That's, to them, it's normalized that we are who we are. So it was very refreshing to see that. So with your mother and father, did they ever shift in their perspective of you?
So interesting. So my father ended up going to live with my brother. My brother lives near Orlando. And my father couldn't take care of himself anymore. He was getting the beginning stages of dementia. So he went to live with my brother, and I got a gig speaking. I wish I could remember the school, but it was not too far from Orlando, like an hour's drive. And I said, hey, listen, I've never had my parents come to one of my lectures. I'm speaking at this school. in Orlando College. And if you want to come, that would be great. But I said, I need to let you know, I do talk about our family. I mean, I show this horrible 1970s portrait of all of us, a picture when I talk about, what privilege and went on and different things in the photo, so what you see on the outside isn't necessarily what you see on the inside. So it's a learning tool. So I told him, and my brother was like, okay, not a problem. So my brother can be kind of different about things. My father was so excited to come to this lecture. And I found out from the caregiver, because he was pacing, looking at the watch the whole time. And I was nervous. It was his first time. Mm-hmm. He sat right in the front row. I don't know how many students were there. It was a small college, maybe 150, 200. So I talked about my dad, and I pointed him out. My dad's like 6'3", and he lifted his hand up and waved and stuff, talked more. At the end of the lecture, do you think the students came up and hugged me? No, they came up to my father, and my dad's not a hugger. And they were hugging my father, and my brother was like, and so I saw my dad the next day, and he was so proud of me. And he only saw me that one time. My dad passed away several years ago. But I would call him every Friday, and he knew what I did for work.
That's a special memory.
Yeah, he'd ask where I'm going and things like that. My mother, different story. My mom passed in 2000, I gotta think of this now, 2014. She never quite got it. I tried to educate her, but I think my stepfather was a huge influence to her. I didn't know that at the time. She warned me in assisted living her last 2 months she was alive. But when I went to visit her, it was the last time I saw her alive, she said to me, I want to talk to you about something about you and your brother and this thing you're involved with. Like we're a gang, And I go, so I always try to push the envelope a little bit further. I go, well, what thing is that, Mom? She goes, the thing with guys, that thing. I said, oh. She goes, listen, I may not understand it at all, but I know that people love you. I know that you've changed a lot of people's lives. I've known that you have worked with people without judgment. And for that, I'm glad and happy that you're my son. That was all that was said. And she walked out with her walker to the front door, never spoke any kind of word of love ever. And she goes, come on, give me a kiss. She goes, I love you. And I was like, I sat out in the parking lot of this assisted living, and everything had come full circle. And I bawled. 2 weeks later, she passed away, and I had no idea that she was going to die. My stepfather was a whole other case. Created a lot of trouble for us the next several years, and he's passed now.
So a lot of the listeners of this show, from what I can understand, really have that concern about coming out, their family, their parents, and that connection. They fear they're going to lose it. And so that keeps them just stuck in torment.
Yeah.
So in your experience, what advice would you have for those that are stuck in that torment of not knowing what to do, how to act, and how to get through that?
You can't change your parents. You can't change. You can just be you and not have your life turned upside down because they don't understand you. And I know this easier said than done, but don't question who you are. Don't question your energy and who you are and what you bring to the table. There's going to be people throughout your life, and we probably both have experienced that. There's people that just don't understand it. They don't get it. And they see it as more of a sexual thing than a whole being wellness for the human being.
Right.
And I think of anything that I would tell people is try to have conversations and talk about that holistic, love it. No, they say love is love, and it's true. But that's one part of who you are.
Right.
One part of who you are, and what a glorious part that is. But you want your parents to have a better understanding. So mine, it took forever, but it was a struggle. And I think my mom still had trouble. I mean, my brother and I have talked about this, and we really feel that had my stepfather not been there, she probably would have been like a P flag mom, and she would have got it. Because I had a cousin that was.
It sounds like she was closer when you saw her last, though.
Yeah.
All that positive affirmation.
Couldn't believe it.
Yeah. I mean, so
Yeah.
that she was on.
And my brother wasn't talking to her, didn't speak to her for years because she made an awful comment to my brother. This was like 2004. My brother said, well, he called me up and he goes, I came out to mom. I said, really? My brother's very quietly served. I go, what'd she say? And my brother's adopted, as I mentioned. She said, well, Douglas, at least you didn't come out of my womb. And I was hurting for my brother, and they never spoke after that, ever again.
Fortunate.
And my mom said a lot of funny, negative things to me over the years. But I have an uncanny, blessed ability of looking at somebody, and I can peel away and see that inner shy when they don't see it themselves. And I think that's why I've been really successful in working with people and working with students and corporate and everything else that I do.
As a life coach, I'm committed to help you discover the passions in your life and help you map a course to achieve the things you really want. Together, we will unwind those persistent self-doubts that are holding you back. You'll begin to see your passions more clearly and set achievable goals. Throughout your journey, I'll be there to challenge and encourage you in moving forward to discover your authentic self. For more information about my personal life coaching services, or to arrange a complimentary consultation, visit davidcottoncoaching.com.
You're listening to Out Late with David.
So you said, it's not the only piece of who you are. There's other parts to your, something like that. I'm paraphrasing it poorly. So the other part that you seem like is education and engaging with people. How did you get into that, and what draw you to that profession that you now really it's who you are?
That's a great question, and I fell on it very interestingly. So I worked in higher ed in northern Michigan at North Central Michigan College in beautiful Petoskey, Michigan, my second home. And one of my jobs there was director of student life, and then I taught. I was the adjunct theater and acting professor. Shocker. But student life, one of the jobs I had, I was director of the lecture series. And so I was bringing in, and I had to revive this thing that was really stuck on a very conservative, inviting lecturers, guests to the college. And I said, I'm going to broaden this thing, because students weren't coming. It was more the general public. Well, I took a hold of this, and I started inviting all these people. And the first person I invited was Jeannie White Ginder, the mother of Ryan White.
Oh my.
And we have a nursing staff at my college. And
Just quickly remind folks of Ryan White that may have forgotten.
Okay, Ryan White was a young man that was in Kokomo, Indiana. He really came to
70s or 80s.
like in the late 80s, and then he passed away like 1990, 91, I believe. But when we heard all these HIV/AIDS cases happen to gay men, here's this young boy that contacted from a bad blood product. And so, he was on Phil Donahue, he was on the shows. Michael Jackson took him under his wing. Elton John admits that it was because of Ryan that Elton got off of drugs. So Jeannie came to our school, or to my college, and we clicked. She was there for 2 days because I mentioned, I want to get her into the local high school. And the president of my college said, that'll never happen, because she's talking about, HIV/AIDS or very borderline gay, connection that with Ryan. And I said, no, I'm going to do that. And I did. Well, it was juniors with seniors. It was packed. Got dry in the house. She shows a video of Ryan and talk. And we left there. And she looked over and she goes, you are so loved by a lot of these students. Well, a lot of the students have remembered me because I worked at a summer camp in the area that are now older. And so she got done. When we did the lecture at the college, she told the whole audience, this was my new friend, Greg. It was just wonderful.
Yeah.
And when we were leaving, she goes, I want to invite you to come speak at the Ryan White Youth Conference for HIV/AIDS. I go, Jeannie, I go, thank you. But I said, I can't do that. I said, I know about HIV/AIDS, but I'm not a professional speaker. She goes, oh, no. I want you to talk about who you are. You have a story to tell. And then she goes, you have not told that story yet. Maybe in pieces, but I want to invite you. I said, Jeannie, I can't. She goes, I am not leaving here. And she goes, it's in Chicago. It's in February, which was about another 5 months away, right around my birthday. So I finally gave in to her. And I spoke at a luncheon downtown Chicago, first time I was there. And about 350 caregivers, students, people, standing ovation. So that got the ball rolling. I did some of the classroom speaking at my college, and then I met a few other people. I met Dr. Ruth Westheimer, great story. And then I met Judy Shepard, Matthew Shepard's mother. So I called them 3 women in my life and really boosted me to speak. So I started doing a little bit more stuff. And then an agency I'd worked with, student activities, said, hey, listen, we're starting a lecture series. We'd like to represent you and see what happens. So I got on their docket. They were getting me gigs. And then finally, it was in 2003, maybe just the end of 2002, they go, we'd like to represent you full time, but you need to be near a major airport to fly in and out. And I've been going to Chicago all those years. And I thought, oh my God, I'm going to leave this great job I like. And I was the big fish in the small pond. Everybody knew me. And I did all this great work to move to Chicago where, and I left. Really? And then went to Chicago. It scared the hell out of me. And it was a rough first year. Because one, I had been paying rent for 7 years because I lived on the campus of my college. So when they said, oh, you're going to be paying $1,200 a month, I'm like, you what? So there was a lot of eye-opening experiences, but my message got more broad. I got more of an audience. Things started really rocking and rolling for me. I was friends with Judy Shepard, the Shepherds, so I was really touched by that murder to Matt. And so I did some programs on Matt. I was doing programs on the Names Quilt as well. And so then I did a couple of gigs with Judy Shepard. And I just remember this. I'm going to backtrack, because this was the moment that did everything. When I was at the college, I was deciding whether I was going to do this for a career. And Judy Shepard had come to North Central Michigan College, and a year later, she was at my alma mater, and she called me. She goes, hey, Greg, I'm at Central Michigan University. Dennis, her husband, he goes, Dennis isn't there. Do you want to do my 4+1 at this reception that P-Flag's doing for me? And then introduced me on stage as your score. Like, yeah. So I had been at my old school at Central right around 4 months prior to that and spoke there. So it was about a year after that, Judy was going to speak at Central Michigan University. So I go down and P-Flag, it was wonderful. And I got on stage, 2,000 people, was packed auditorium, and not a dry eye in the house because she showed the video of Matt. She did this whole montage, which was beautiful. But I did the intro. I walked out. I'll never forget this. This is what turned everything for me. I went upstairs to the balcony. The last 2 seats, my friend Tim was with me, who I'd gone to school with. It was in the theater department. And there was a group of students with this banner. Remember the banner paper? The long, everybody, it's all, it's history now probably, but so there's the students with this huge long banner with written messages to Judy on it, rolled up, and they go, hey, could you introduce us to Judy so we can give her this gift of all these signatures from the door? And we go, absolutely. Lecture ended, none of dry eye in the house, and everybody's filing out. And, they got like 10 students behind me, Tim's with me. And all of a sudden, there's this red-haired college student off to my left going, Fred, waving at me. And I looked over and Jim goes, do you know her? I have no idea who she is. And I get up to the front. I go, meet me in the front. And she goes, I can't believe it's you. I go, what do you mean? She goes, did you speak here a year ago? I go, yeah, I did. She goes, I knew it was you. And meanwhile, I shuffled the students off into the Judy. And I said, oh, you came to my lecture. That's during it. I thank you. She goes, I'm not finished yet. I go, oh. She goes, I always said if I ever saw you again, I want to thank you for coming here to do your lecture. And I said, well, it's very nice of you. Thank you. Well, great to see you. And she goes, I'm not finished yet. And Tim was like, and she proceeded to tell me that she had no intention of coming to my lecture. And she was leaving out of the dorm with a full backpack, and she saw the flyer on the door. And she goes, I was walking, and she goes, I saw the flyer, and she goes, I thought I'd come to your lecture to hear what you had to say. She goes, what I didn't tell you is I left a suicide note to my dorm roommates.
Oh my gosh.
2 locations of where they were going to find my body to look. She goes, I was dating an older student. It wasn't going well. I wasn't doing well in school, and I was not out to my mom and dad, which they lived about a half hour from the college. She goes, I loved what you had to say. And she goes, I know you told us not to come out right away, but make sure we have like a backup plan because with college students, they might get money taken away or whatever. She goes, I went right home and I told my parents I was gay, and she goes, you know what? They love me just the same. And she goes, and that college student I dated, I dumped her. And I'm graduating in 2 weeks. And I've always thought that if I ever saw you back, wow, I wanted to say thank you for saving my life. Tim was a puddle on the floor, bawling. I was crying. I hugged her. She did this little skip jump. Off she went, never saw her again. And Tim looked over at me and said, if that doesn't tell you what you should be doing the rest of your life, you're a complete idiot. So that, when I backed up, that changed. And that was my okay, I'm leaving college. So, yeah. So
they have validation of the impact and power of storytelling.
Yeah, it was amazing. Amazing. Yeah. And storytelling has always been my biggest vice, like socially or anything, and, it gets to, later on, like my memoir, it's all the chapters are going to be based on stories from my life from beginning to present. But yeah, that soul situation that happened, and I've had many with companies or colleges, corporations, everything. That's just been incredible.
So after you had that interaction where she, then skipped away, you said, you're standing there in that moment.
I was dumbfounded. I felt like, like this light beam from the sky, like, shoo, came down. Yeah.
So did that shift or pivot your thinking?
Absolutely.
In what way?
And I thought, I later talked to Tim, and he said, that person could be one of many that maybe have heard your message, but didn't come to see you.
Right.
He goes, and think of the ones that stand in line after your lecture program that want to hug you, take a photo or whatever. But he said, there's a lot of them that are silent that you've had great impact on already.
Yeah.
And I still think about that.
We actually have had feedback from Outlay with David.
Yeah.
Individuals said they did not kill themselves because they found out they were not alone. They weren't strange. They had community through listening to something or watching it on YouTube. It's just, so it keeps us going, putting out
absolutely
all of the stories that we can find and introducing to people like you because of the power of telling a story, just sharing yourself with someone else. And I guess I never thought about this. How can someone who is struggling with their own identity maybe use story to their advantage in coping and then revealing themselves? So I don't believe in coming out. I believe in letting in.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't come up with the term. I don't know who did.
Okay.
But, you let people into your life that you care about.
Right.
Maybe you do that through a story. You tell them why you care about them. Let's make a connection.
It's an amazing connection because I've always told people in all my programs, storytelling changes hearts, minds, and policies.
Yeah.
It really does. Like if you watch a lot of these, people speaking from the Senate or maybe your local government, and they're sharing their story. Some of them are really gut wrenching, depending on what's going on in our country. But that changes hearts and minds and policies. I can remember many stories people told me, and you walked away like, wow.
Yeah, they may not remember the issue, but they remember the story, the context, and the emotion.
Remember how you felt.
Yeah, the feeling that you want to do, like the goosebumps I have right now, just thinking about that woman skipping away from.
Oh, I would love to know what happened to her.
Yeah.
I would love to know. I thought about her. I'd still see her red hair. But yeah, that was...
Maybe it's good that you don't, because then you have that moment and that desire to know.
That was such a gift for me.
It keeps it open.
It was such a huge gift for me.
Yeah.
And I love talking about it. It just never gets old for me.
So for those that identify and accept themselves and go through the process of letting people in, based on your experiences, what advice might you have them on how they can then enter into the community that they don't understand? Because that's another feedback we get from people is, gosh, now that I'm out, now what? How do I get into this community? How do I engage with it?
And it's a struggle because everybody's all hung up on the apps of social media, and that's where a lot of people are finding it's a great source of community, but you need to have that social interaction.
Friends.
Yeah.
Build friendship.
Yeah.
What a concept.
Then a head bobbing on your screen.
Yeah.
And I think that can be, the social media stuff can be.
And I say friends, and it's not easy. So I don't want to make light of that. It is difficult to put yourself out there. Here you've gone through the process, accepting yourself, explaining yourselves to others in some way, and now engaging with strangers to become part of something that you don't necessarily know what all that is yet.
I would say, there's nothing wrong with having like coffee groups or dinners of people or lunch and discussion. You just may have to initiate that. Not everybody wants to do that. I look at my brother and like, my brother plays poker at a gay bar for free, and that's his community. Mm-hmm. And I'm glad he does it. He's been able to go to other people's houses for pool parties. So you just got to push yourself to go do that. Now, maybe if you find a group online to meet up locally or somewhere else, but go. And everybody's got this reservation, and go there with an open mind. You're meeting another human being, not a hookup.
Right. Yeah. Find a common thing.
Yeah.
I know one person, they really liked Disney. So they took the Meetup app because they also like technology, and they created a gay Disney group. And then they met and they went to a Disney park together because they live near one, just to meet friends.
I love that.
A sports league.
Yep.
Pickleball is really popular, at least in this town.
Yeah. I belong to a group called Bears Uncorked in Chicago, and it's very interesting, but it's a group of bearish guys, and we get together about once every month or so, and it's a wine tasting.
Yeah.
And you bring 2 bottles of the same kind of wine, you sample the one, and the top 2 winners get to split the second bottles of wine. It's a little boozy, but the wine is the secondary thing.
Right.
And I've met a lot of people where you're like, hey, we're going to go and see this new movie being released, or we're meeting for dinner.
And I meet a lot of sober guys, and there's always a struggle. Like, I don't like hanging out in bars. Some do, just drink a lot of cranberry and soda, but there's other things. There's sports activities, like this is the example.
Sports, dinner groups, book
running,
all that stuff. Yeah.
So as we kind of get down here, thank you for your time today.
You're very welcome.
I guess try to think of those. What are the powerful things you want to tell our listeners and watchers there? A lot are trying to understand themselves. Maybe they do, but they're afraid to share it with someone else. They don't have the benefit of our experience and stories yet. But I believe, what might you leave with them to help them in their journey?
Just be at peace with yourself, and know that, and put that positive energy out. We're living in such a strange time right now that we need more connection than ever, and to have like-minded individuals. So, put yourself out there. It doesn't mean that you need to say everything, but, make some initiative to find yourself and find that community. You may not know it, but when you're meeting up with other people, and you're sharing this stuff, you're going to walk away from those groups and those interactions, and it's going to open some doors that you're like, oh, I didn't know that about myself, or I was able to do that. And I think that's really powerful. And just the powerful of the interaction and sharing who you are, because it just opens a lot in your heart and your mind for what you're doing.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't have that experience. I look at my brother, and for years he didn't do anything. He didn't get out. And I was like, try to push him, but you have to be on your own time.
And we're all wired differently, so it takes different things.
And and trust me, everybody can go to the bars or the drag shows, things like that. All fine and dandy, but there's other things to do.
Mm-hmm. And there's others that want to do those other things too.
Yeah.
I used to tell people thought I was an introvert until I came out and realized I'm actually an extrovert in training. So it takes a while. Your personality can shift and change too as you begin.
And be patient too. Right. It doesn't happen overnight.
Right.
Didn't happen overnight for me, and I was in cold northern Michigan for a long time. I was a little bit more outgoing.
If people want to get in contact with you or follow you on social media or see you speak, your website, where can they find out about?
Okay, so I'm gregorbaird.com, and if you find me on TikTok, because I do a couple of videos a week, TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube, you can type in Gregor Baird or Gregor Speaks.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you.
It'll show you all the information there.
Well, thanks for your time today, and thank you for emphasizing the importance of stories and the courage that goes with telling stories and engaging with someone else. As we talked about today during our discussion, we know that the stories are powerful and they actually help people when they most need it. So I hope that you just take that away today, and thank you for your time.
Thank you. Beautiful Palm Springs.
Yeah. And just to give you a footnote too, we're doing Outlay with David, but we realized we get feedback and say, well, now that I'm out, now what? Now what? Now what? So the intent is, and actually Greg's kind of the first, to slip in some shows now and then that aren't necessarily just the coming out story, but what are other things to consider after coming out and accepting yourself and moving forward and being through all of that you've gone through. So if you have ideas, just send them my way and we'll see where we can find someone to talk about that. I'll have my own as well, but now that I'm out, now what? Think of it that way. And that's all for today on Outlay with David, and I'll see you next time. Take care.
To find all episodes and resources for coming out later in life, visit outlatewithdavid.com. That's outlatewithdavid.com, your go-to source for inspiration, support, and real stories.
To hear more episodes, visit outlatewithdavid.com. And to learn more about personal life coaching services, go to davidcottoncoaching.com.